This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg. Angeline Tadaweo hosts The Block.
Afrobeats to jazz, hip-hop to R&B, calypso, Kez the Band, Michelle Montano, Bob Marley, Bounty Killer. So we really give all these artists a chance to shine, and the key is in the programming, in making it make sense, and making sure that the music is fluid, a fluid experience.
The Block with Angeline Tadaweo. Available now on CBC Listen.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show? Stream CBC Podcasts, CBC Music, and CBC Radio anytime, anywhere. Download the CBC Listen app for free.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Riley Lachuk. At noon, Winnipeg's at 17 degrees, a mix of sun and clouds out at the moment. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds today, a seasonal high of 23 degrees in Winnipeg this afternoon. Well, it has been 5 years since a national inquiry released its final report into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Marking that anniversary, the chief of the Assembly of First Nations says the government has failed to take action for its recommendations. Cindy Woodhouse says only 2 of the more than 200 calls for justice have been fully implemented. Speaking this morning, Woodhouse addressed the families of missing women directly.
Your memories remain, and we will never forget. We will not stand by and let the government continue to ignore your calls for justice. We will keep speaking. The murderers and the violence have not stopped, and neither can we.
Ottawa has committed more than $2 billion to respond to the inquiry's calls for justice, but the inquiry's former chief commissioner says it's long-term, stable funding that is needed. We're nearing the 1-year anniversary of one of the deadliest crashes in Manitoba history. It was June 15th of last year when a collision on the Trans-Canada Highway near Carberry left 17 people dead. Josephine Stockatelny was severely injured in that collision. She spent 3 months in hospital, then 3 months rehabilitating. Stockatelny doesn't remember the crash and says she keeps a photo of those who died close by and prays for them. She says she's grateful.
I want to thank my family. I want to thank all the care workers that help and come and help me even now. And I'm very blessed and thankful that I'm still alive.
A monument honoring the victims of the crash will be unveiled in a Dauphin City Park on the anniversary of the crash. Stockatelny says she hopes to be there. Safety is part of the reason the Osborne Village Starbucks has closed permanently. In a statement, the coffee chain says it routinely reviews its stores. It says it considers several factors, including personal safety and the security of employees. Staff who worked at that store will be offered jobs at other locations. Well, for the first time in the country's history, a woman has been elected the president of Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum is a climate scientist and the former mayor of Mexico City. She won the election in a landslide, campaigning on a platform that focused on affordability and promises to tackle corruption. David Argan has more from the Mexican capital.
Mexicans poured into central Mexico City, waving flags, honking horns. They're very, very excited with their choice. Polls throughout the campaign showed that Claudia Sheinbaum was going to win by a landslide, and she did. She's going to claim roughly a 30-point victory. She's going to take both houses of Congress with mega majorities, which could allow her the possibility to change Mexico's constitution without negotiating with any of the opposition parties. There were 32 candidates killed in this electoral cycle, candidates and potential candidates. This is organized crime, drug cartels, which are disputing territories. And the theory is that a lot of times they're not necessarily moving a lot of drugs, so they're running things such as extortion rackets. What they want to do is control local governments, and that gives them control of the police. So that's going to be a big challenge. David Agron for CBC News in Mexico City.
Search and rescue teams in BC continue to look for 3 missing mountaineers. The experienced climbers were last seen Friday morning in a park north of Squamish. They have not been seen or heard from since. BJ Shute is with Squamish Search and Rescue.
This is not a simple hike or a walk in the park by any stretch. This is a very rugged, very technical terrain that we're talking about, and it's a fair distance from Squamish.
Chute says crews are struggling with wet and foggy weather and have to wait for it to clear. Avalanche risk has also been high, making it dangerous for crews to access the remote area. President Joe Biden says he loves and supports his son and would not comment on his trial. Hunter Biden is accused of lying to illegally obtain a gun while he was dealing with drug addiction. Jury selection began this morning, and Richard Madden is following the details.
This is a critical case for Hunter Biden. He faces federal charges linked to a gun purchase he made back in 2018. He's accused of lying on a government form, buying and owning a gun while he was using illicit drugs. So prosecutors are expected to bring up his seedy details of his crack cocaine addiction and have called 3 of his ex-partners to testify about his drug use. Now, we could also see more evidence from his now infamous laptop computer, which include messages and lewd photos that have long been at the center of other political accusations. Now, if he's convicted on all charges, Hunter Biden faces a maximum 25 years in prison, but his legal troubles aren't over yet because in September, he faces a separate federal criminal tax trial in California. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
And that is your CBC News from Winnipeg. I'll be back with your next local news coming up on Radio Noon at 12:30. Taking a look at your weather forecast. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds across the southern part of the province today. 23 in both Winnipeg and Brandon. Some clouds building tonight. Some showers begin through the morning tomorrow. Dauphin's looking at a high of 22 degrees. Thompson mainly cloudy and 17. Rain and fog in Churchill today with a high of +3. This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg.
Hello, my friends. Thanks for joining us today for Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Janet Stewart. It is not unusual to have interpersonal conflicts in the workplace, be it with a coworker or with a supervisor. Today on our Radio Noon call-in conversation, we get advice on how to avoid and how to heal those rifts at work. What do kids as young as 6 think would make a great business idea? Find out today as elementary school kids open up shop on their entrepreneurial ideas. We'll meet the mom behind Morden's first ever children's business market at 12:15. But Radio Noon begins today with an important step toward reconciliation. It has been a long time coming. Volunteers at the 26th Field Regiment 12th Manitoba Dragoons Museum in Brandon are thrilled. An exhibit they've wanted at their museum for years has finally been created and unveiled. The museum at the Armory in Brandon finally includes a tribute to the contributions of Indigenous soldiers in the First and Second World Wars and Korea. It was unveiled Saturday. Don Barry is president of the 26th Field Regiment 12th Manitoba Dragoons Museum.
Well, it's something that's long overdue, and we recognize that in our museum that was an omission that we needed to correct.
The display includes a painting by an Indigenous artist from Winnipeg, boards honoring the most highly decorated Indigenous soldier to serve in the First World War, the Second World War, and in Korea, and a special display about a Dakota soldier from Western Manitoba.
We have the medals, dog tags, cap badges of an Indigenous soldier from Sioux Valley, and a little bit of a story about him. His name is Private Herman Essay, and he served in 4 different units that are connected to the province of Manitoba. He served in the Border Horse, the 12th Manitoba Dragoons, the Winnipeg Rifles, and the Regina Rifles.
That's Don Barry, president of the 26th Field Regiment 12th Manitoba Dragoons Museum in Brandon. Herman Essay was a sharpshooter and an accurate one. He'd learned to shoot a rifle while attending residential school. Private Herman Essie didn't talk about his time at war long after the war. He died in 1967. His son, Wally Essie, learned about his father's skill talking with others. He's been researching the contributions of Dakota soldiers. As he told me when we chatted Friday, that's why he first wandered into the Brandon Armory, where the museum's located.
I was there just inquiring about where I can maybe go on computer to get the records and whatnot of the soldiers and that. And they asked me if I knew anybody, any family that could donate their medals and whatever stuff we had. So I said, well, my dad was in the war. I could donate his stuff. Because I was kind of thinking at that time that I wanted them to be in a safe place. But I don't know if there's armories. I don't know if that's a safe place or not, but at least it's there. Like,
I would think an armories is a safe place. I would hope so.
Well, I don't know, because when I first started looking for information on my dad, I went to the one in Winnipeg, and they didn't have his records there because they said they had a fire and all the records burnt in the fire. Yeah, so not only his, but others too, I guess. But so I had to look at other areas to try and find information on him. I had a hard time finding a picture of him. Yeah.
Where did you finally find it?
I finally found one at a farm in where he used to work. I guess when before he left for the war, he went there for a last visit sort of thing, and they took a picture of him, and that's the one that's in that in that picture that they sent there. So that's how I found that picture, and then the other one, I was talking to a friend of mine in Kenton, Manitoba, and I was telling them about I'm looking for a picture of my dad, and they said, well, after maybe a couple of years later, he phoned me and said, well, my dad was in the same unit as your dad, because he finally found records too, I guess. And so that's how he told me what unit he belonged to with the Regina Rifles. So I got my grandson to Google it, and he found it. That group picture, or like unit, or whatever they call them. So that's how we found that one, was just asking around. Yeah.
What was it that made you want to start looking for and researching the history of, you say all our veterans. Do you mean all veterans from Sioux Valley Dakota Nation?
Sioux Valley Dakota Nation, there's 6 other communities that are Dakota, Manitoba and Saskatchewan. I thought, like, I used to work in the education area, and I thought, well, we don't have a record of all our veterans. So I thought, well, maybe if I do this over time, maybe I'll have my basic objective was to make posters and send them to all the schools, not only in the Indian communities, but to city of Brandon, or like there's Portage La Prairie, there's Dakotas there, and Virden, Manitoba, and Fort Qu'Appelle, Saskatchewan, White, Saskatoon, all there, like even Prince Albert, there's Dakotas up there. So that was my aim, was just to try and let the kids know that there was people in the Army that fought for Canada.
And they were volunteers too, all of them.
They all volunteered, yeah.
No, because Indigenous people couldn't be conscripted.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Like I have like in World War I, there was 19 from all the 7 communities, and in World War II there was 40 that went, and then peacetime there's about 45 that trained so far in the peacetime. Could be more, because this was stuff that these are statistics I had from about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Yeah. So,
what have you learned in doing this project?
I didn't realize the how many people did go in both First World War and World War II, and everybody was cooperative. Like, everybody thought that was a good idea, especially the older people. So, the good thing you're doing this, and our future kids will know that our ancestors were in the war, sort of thing, or helped win the war. Yeah.
And now your work?
One comment an elder person made was a lot of these gentlemen went down to fight because they didn't want another country coming to take away land that was belonging to the Aboriginal people, but that was basically stolen from them. And they didn't want another country coming to do that. So that's why they went to fight and help. Like even back in the War of 1812, I think it's called, there was Dakotas helping there too. Yeah.
And now your dad's medals are going to be on display at this museum at the Brandon Armories, the 26th Field Regiment RCA and 12th Manitoba Dragoons Museum. How do you feel about that?
I feel proud, I guess, of what my dad did and what the other comrades he had. Because at the time, they fought like brothers, they said. That's what I heard one guy say. And but when they came home, they faced all these obstacles by the politicians that they weren't allowed the same basic things that other soldiers got that weren't from the reservations, and like land and education and other stuff, I guess, that he got. I'm not very familiar with what everybody got, but I know ours weren't treated the same. And so, but I'm proud that my dad was part of it and part of the people that the men that went to fight for the war. So putting his stuff on display, people will realize that this happened. Yeah.
Wally Essie, thank you so much for your time today.
Uh-huh.
Wally Essie donated his father's medals to the 26th Field Regiment 12th Manitoba Dragoons Museum at the Brandon Armory.
Every company dreams of doubling its profit. It's almost impossible to do. Yet, some companies do it just by tweaking one tiny thing. Or coming up with a really catchy jingle.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. How companies double their profits. On Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on the CBC Listen app.
It is 12:16, almost 12:17 p.m. You're listening to CBC Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Janet Stewart. Coming up in our calling conversation, we're going to talk about troubles at work, how to promote wellness at work and clear communication, how to navigate conflicts with a coworker or your supervisor. We've got an expert joining us who is an expert in conflict analytics. She's an analyst. And she's going to give us some guidance for the workplace. So join us at 12:35 when we start our calling conversation. Right now, we are going to look at your weather. It is cloudy today in Thompson. Now, Environment Canada also says it's sunny in Thompson right now. So I'm not sure which one is. Perhaps you're having a sunny break, Thompson. I hope so. But Environment Canada and Climate Change Canada says it's going to be a mainly cloudy day today in Thompson, 17 degrees, mainly cloudy tomorrow as well, and 13 will be your high. In Winnipeg today, we're experiencing a mix of sun and cloud. Our high today is 23 degrees. Tuesday, tomorrow, more showers and a risk of a thunderstorm late in the morning and afternoon. We could get 10 to 15 millimeters more of rain. In Brandon, your skies are clearing, says Environment Canada and Environment and Climate Change. Why can I not do this? I don't know. They changed the name long ago. It still sticks in my head. Clearing in Brandon, some cloud and rain showers tonight into tomorrow. We'll have more on your forecast coming up on Radio Noon. Right now, let's move on to something very, very cool happening in Morden. If you can be in Morden today at 5 p.m., you have an opportunity to help inspire Manitoba's next generation of entrepreneurs. The very first Morden Children's Business Market runs from 5 to 6 p.m. today at Maple Leaf Elementary School. Grace Keeling is the parent who's been using her own business background to get this venture off the ground. She joins us now by Zoom. Thanks for joining us, Grace.
Thanks, Janet. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us. I know you're a radio station in Winnipeg, so it's really neat that you want to share this news from Morden.
Well, of course we do. We represent the province. Remember that? The whole province. And we're really excited with the lessons you're trying to teach kids in Morden. Describe to us the ideas of the kinds of businesses shoppers are going to see this afternoon when they wander through Morden's first annual children's business market.
Sure. So I'll start off with my son. So my son's 6 years old, and he is teaming up. His name's Iric. He's teaming up with his classmate, Wilkes, and they are doing secret books, which are books that look like, well, they're boxes, but they're hidden boxes, shaped like books with the inside cut out and the outside glued so that you can hide things in it.
Well,
and we have...
Oh, keep going. I was just going to say that sounds really cool. Our studio director, Chloe Friesen's nodding her head as if she would buy one. Were she there?
Yeah, he's selling. Well, he set the prices. Him and Wilkes made it, and the posters. I just helped cut the inside. Of course, we don't want our little kids with X-Acto knives, and Wilkes' mom too. And the prices range from $5 to $20. There's even a Wayne Gretzky book and a Steve Jobs book.
Wow.
We also have, there's also sun catchers. There are fidget toys. So some of these kids even made their own fidget toys, making like a balloon that they put different materials inside, and they have different faces of the balloons. And if you're stressed, you can kind of just fidget with them. And we have some kids have painted rocks that have, they're called positivity rocks. So they have little messages on them to inspire positivity and things like keep going, work hard. We have kids selling Pokemon cards. That's a hot item too. So they're able to resell products that they bought. And we have lots of different kinds of bracelets, balloon bracelets, plastic beaded bracelets, and a whole bunch. We have 60 vendors, and they have teamed up with lots of kids. So altogether, we have 85 kids from kindergarten to grade 4.
So 6 to 11. What have you done through the year, you and other partner organizations, to teach these kids about business and to get them prepared for this day?
Yes, sure. So this whole thing started from a grant that was an open call for Western School Division. So it was just anyone who has an idea, you can sign up for this grant. And I have heard about this children's business market, something similar to about it on a podcast. So I thought, hey, that would be a neat idea to bring to our school. So I went ahead and applied for the grant, and the grant was $2,500. And that kind of started the whole thing rolling. And at first we were thinking, oh, this is kind of short notice. This was December that we signed up for it. And we didn't think we could pull it together till like next year or something. But when I built out the plan, I was like, I think we could do this. We don't have to make this very hard. And I went around. I'm very new to Morden, Manitoba. I've only been here for 2 years, and I just started putting myself out there after having a young child in the last 6 months. But I'm a firm believer in collaborating with local communities and working together with just different groups. It's just exciting to have some light shined onto small businesses as well. But one of the companies that I reached out was Community Futures, and so they help rural businesses with loans and just business planning and whatnot. But one of the things that they do is they help young children, and they help do camps, and they go to schools and do kind of different teachings, but they've never done this with such a young age group. K to grade 4, they've never touched this, but they were really open to trying this, and they took us on. So that was neat. And then they also work side by side with a company called Junior Achievements, and they have an entire tournament. So if you're thinking like Winnipeg hockey or something like that, where kids have tournaments and stuff like that, this Junior Achievements is similar, but for business kids, and they focus on high school students. So they're very much like kids create their own business, their CEO, their marketing, whatnot. They're very structured. So it was very different.
That's what these elementary age kids are doing now too. All of that, all the marketing, all the posters, all the advertising, they did it all. What are you hoping kids so young, Grace, learn from this?
We hope that they take a chance, they take risks. We hope that, I know it seems really intimidating and it's such an adult concept of handling money. And so during what we did with Community Futures is they came for 5 weeks, once a week during the lunch hour, and they helped with Business 101. So we had 5 different topics, and that kind of taught them what is advertisement, what is customer service, what is it to run a business, how does money work, how does like the society work with exchanging money. What does it mean to give back to the community? So one other thing that we came across, one of our partners as well, is Morden Area Foundation. So they heard about the business market through the newspaper, and they said, hey, how about we're kind of talking over, the CEO and I were talking over the ideas, and I thought about integrating philanthropy into the program. And they said, oh, how about we do a matching program where we support Many Hands? So that's a local food bank that we have in Morden, Manitoba. And so we're working with Many Hands as well. And we made it so that during tonight, so tonight at 5, we're going to have some judges judge all the booths. And at the end, at 6 o'clock, we're going to have an award ceremony. And we have 6 categories where we can select the best businesses for each selection. But they have a cash prize, and they also have a portion where they can donate to either Many Hands, and the other organization that they can donate to is the hospital. And they get to choose the amount. So I think they get to learn also how to give back to the community, and they can feel that they have contributed to helping others as well. So that's something that we've taught them as well. And it's a really cool, it's very magical to watch their eyes kind of twinkle when we're teaching them in the class, and they're empathizing. What is it to be for the food bank? There's kids that take advantage of their families, they take advantage of the food bank, and these kids in our class have never really known hunger or known what it was to not have things. So then we're teaching them, there's kids out there in the local community that don't get food. How would you feel if you didn't get food?
So you've got the roots of empathy as one of the lessons here, and you're seeing these kids be entrepreneurial. What lessons can kids learn if nobody buys their stuff? Wouldn't they be sad?
They would be sad. And the other concept that we've also been teaching them is that some things in life don't work out perfectly as you planned. And there's a chance that things don't succeed. Sometimes you'll fail. And that's okay, because we're here to catch you and you can try again. So the other thing too is just navigating through the emotional ups and downs of building this business plan and not knowing how people will react to it, not knowing. We have kids saying, I don't know if I have enough products. What if no one buys my stuff? And it's like, hey, you know what? Just stick to your goal and navigate through that. You're going to have a whole bunch of emotions that are there, but at the end of the day, you just put your products on the table, do your best, and just have a good time with us. And I think it's really good to show the kids hard work and dedication and having faith.
And resilience.
And resilience. Yeah, it's really nice. And again, like one concept that really stuck in my head during the workshop was when Ken from Community Futures, he had 3 mason jars. And to teach the kids, you have options here. You can spend your money, save your money, and share your money. And he got loonies for all the kids. And there's in the workshop, there's 20 kids. And they all lined up and they got to split their loonies however they wanted. And some of these kids, they're choosing themselves. Some of these kids will be plopping all $7 into the share jar. And that moment of sharing is just it's like a domino effect. Because then all the other kids were seeing, hey, it feels really nice to share. At the end of the day,
Grace, we've got 30 seconds left. I'm so sorry to have to cut this off. Can I call you tomorrow and find out how everything goes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Grace Keeling, thank you so much. Grace Keeling organized the Children's Business Market on today from 5 to 6 in Morden, Manitoba. We're going to talk to her again tomorrow to find out how everything goes. Right now, it is almost 12:30. We're opening our phone lines. 204-780-0893. We've got a workplace relationship expert here to help us navigate all the difficult things in communication at work. Call us, 780-0893, and join our calling conversation. Right now, the time is 12:30.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Riley Lachuk. At 12:30, 18 degrees in Winnipeg this hour under a mix of sun and clouds. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds today and a seasonal high of 23 this afternoon. We begin at the Manitoba Legislature, where Manitoba politicians are expected to give final approval to roughly 20 bills today before the legislature rises for its summer break. Among the bills set for a final vote is one that would make it easier to seize property from criminals, and another that would end the province's ban on homegrown recreational cannabis. Other bills would ban protests near abortion clinics and convicted sex offenders from changing their names. Osborne Village now, where the Starbucks coffee shop will not reopen. Last month, the company said it was temporarily closing the Starbucks there to evaluate the store. The local biz said they were told it was because of safety concerns. In a statement yesterday, though, a spokesperson for Starbucks says after careful evaluation that store will be permanently closed. It says the review included whether the location provided a warm and welcoming environment. All staff that work there have been offered the opportunity to transfer to other Starbucks locations. Claudia Sheinbaum is Mexico's new president. The former climate scientist is the first woman in the nation's history to assume the top role. Mandy Sham reports now on the landslide victory and the precarious path ahead.
In the end, there was no contest for Claudia Sheinbaum, who received roughly 60% of the vote. The leftist politician campaigned on the promises brought in by her Morena party and current president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, 6 years ago. They include social programs aimed at reducing poverty, but what the government has failed to address is soaring organized crime.
Security is the biggest challenge and issue for Mexico today.
Guadalupe Correa Cabrera is a policy professor at George Mason University. She says Sheinbaum will inherit a culture of corruption and impunity amid an uneasy political landscape.
In a year when the United States are going to have elections and Canada is about to have elections too.
This election is unprecedented in other ways as cartels look to consolidate their power. Dozens of candidates were killed throughout the campaign, marking what's likely to be a challenging and turbulent 6 years ahead. Mandy Sham, CBC News, Toronto.
And finally, that's the Jonas Brothers. They will headline the halftime show at the 2024 Grey Cup at BC Place Stadium. The band has sold more than 20 million albums globally and has racked up 26 Billboard Hot 100 hits. This is their hit Vacation Eyes, released last year. The Grey Cup game is slated for November 17th. And of course, Janet, we're all hoping that the Bombers are there too.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Give me something else to dance about.
Exactly.
Riley Lachuk, thank you so much.
No problem.
Riley will be back during I was going to say you're going to be back during Up to Speed. You're going to be back every hour, on the hour, every half hour, because he's covering news for us today on the radio. Often we have Riley covering weather for us, so, he wears so many hats. The hat I'm wearing today is trying to be a substitute for Riley covering weather, and, that's a struggle for me. So thanks for your patience. Environment and Climate Change Canada is the name of the organization I turned to for my forecast. I was struggling with that one a few moments ago, but I think I've got it now. In Brandon and in Winnipeg today, we're going to have showers more this evening, more showers. I can't believe it after all the rain we've had, but there's more on the way. For Monday and Tuesday, for Tuesday and Wednesday, showers in Brandon and in Winnipeg. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at this point are looking sunny with temperatures in the low 20s on Thursday and Friday for both cities, and then the high 20s, 27, 26 degrees roughly for your Saturday and Sunday, whether you're in wherever you are in southern Manitoba. Taking a look at Thompson's forecast right now, mainly cloudy is the forecast for today, getting up to a high of 17 degrees. That's the same for Tuesday as well, mainly cloudy. A little cooler high of 13 for tomorrow. Rain for your Wednesday, so rainy everywhere Wednesday it looks like. Cloud in Thompson on Thursday, more rain on Friday and Saturday, but that chance of showers on Saturday is only a 40% chance at this point. Of course, we'll keep watching that forecast as the week develops and as the forecast changes. Now, we want to talk about the forecast for your work life. Our calling conversation today is about work and how to navigate those interpersonal relationships that sometimes are wonderful and sometimes they can hit some bumps. It's not unusual to have some conflicts in the workplace. How do you heal that conflict with your coworker or your supervisor? Today on Radio Noon's Calling Conversation, we're talking about healing and avoiding conflicts in the workplace. Our guest today is Joyce Odidison. Joyce runs Interpersonal Wellness Services Incorporated. She's a conflict analyst and a leadership coach, and we're grateful to have her in studio with us.
Janet, it's my pleasure to be here with you today. How are you?
I'm great. Our Chloe Friesen's just going to come in and adjust your microphone to get it nice and close. Oh, don't even worry, Joyce. Joyce is so into being everywhere at once. You know how we all try to multitask? She's trying to be with us on our Facebook, on our YouTube channel as well. She's physically here with me, and she's also webcasting as well right now. Joyce runs Interpersonal Wellness Services Incorporated. She's a conflict analyst and a leadership coach. She knows what she's talking about. So please call us, 204-780-0893. Maybe we can help with a situation you're facing. Now, we know that this could be sensitive, that this might be something that you don't want to use your name. Maybe you don't want you're worried about your voice being heard. You don't want to make things worse at work. So you can also email radnoonw@cbc.ca. We can paraphrase the issue that you're facing, and you don't have to use your own name on air. If you'd like to call 204-780-0893. Chloe Friesen is our studio director today. She can talk you through it and get me the message that you want Joyce to address. Joyce Odidison, what causes most conflicts in the workplace?
You know, Janet, it's very interesting because people will say to me, I love my job, but it's the people. And most of the conflicts that occur in the workplace are around interpersonal issues. People are not getting along. They're competing for time, energy, space, resources, attention, sometimes attention from their boss. There's nepotism they feel at work, favoritism. They are not getting the right leadership that they feel they should have gotten or the right direction. Issues are not addressed the way they think it should be. And many of those cause a sense of dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and employees start feeling resentful and then disengaged with the workplace. And that we see this commonly happening in the workplace in all sizes.
We received a call on our listener line from a person who's worked at the same company for 15 years. Now, in that time, they've grown. They've improved their attitude toward work and their coworkers, and they say they regret past behaviors. Have a listen to this.
not always been the best employee. I have been working on updating and correcting my behaviors, and sometimes I'm worried that my past mistakes are still affecting my current managers or my current workers' perceptions of me, and constantly trying to show them that I'm improved, and getting some feedback, but just trusting that I am repairing some of the relationships that my past behaviors may have injured. And I know you can't force a relationship, but like when you're the one who's doing what you can to correct it, how that's kind of the position I'm coming from, and just wondering if there's any tips or things that I can do to make things easier other than just hiding in the corners.
So what do you say, Joyce O'Didison?
I love this question, and it's a good question to ask because I see many situations like that, Janet, where someone sometimes when we get into work, we're young, we're immature, we make poor decisions because we're not taught proper decision-making skills. We're not taught critical thinking skills and how to repair relationships. Those are not skills we're taught at school. And when we get into the workplace, we are not able to manage our emotions the right way. We lack the relative self-awareness that we need. And I see many employees who get branded the way they used to be, and then they've worked with us and they want to transform their behavior, transform their relationships. And one of the things that I encourage them to do is to identify some key people you want to apologize to. Right? It doesn't hurt to do that. And sometimes the apology is simply, you know what? I'm at a place where I can reflect on my past behavior and I'm ashamed. I don't want to be that person anymore. This is who I want to be here at work. This is how I want you to experience me. Can I ask you to help me, give me some feedback as I strive to be the better person?
So where and how would you approach this person on this apology? And should it be one-on-one?
It depends. If it's a one-on-one situation, absolutely one-on-one. We've had some times where people say it in the staff meeting, they have a small team of 10 or 20, and they've recognized that they've had that level of self-awareness, and they know now my behavior is no longer, it's not something I want to continue in my life. So they have made that apology to their team members and invite their team members to, now I want to change. I want to be the new person that I want you to experience. And people are willing to help you. So what do you need from us? They usually ask, well, if you see me behaving the way that I don't want to be, just remind me that this is my new self. This is the new Joyce. So remind me that, Joyce, I want to experience the new you. And it's just a simple thing like that. You don't have to shame them, embarrass them. You just have to remind them. Because you see, humans, we have neural pathways. And the bad behavior we have, distributed or demonstrated before, those neural pathways are there. And as we continue to change our behavior at work, the way we communicate with others, the way we respond when things happen, we're now at a place where we can be reminded. And as we get reminded, I'm like, oh, yes, that's true. Sorry. This is what I meant to say instead. And I always say, let's just take 5. Let's redo that. Let me rephrase that. And then people are willing to help you change if you want to put yourself and be vulnerable.
Joyce O'Didison is our expert today. She's our expert every day, but she's here with us today to talk about conflicts in the workplace. 204-780-0893 is the number to call. Again, Chloe Friesen, our studio director, will talk to you and can do what we're about to do here, paraphrase something for you if you're a little worried about putting your voice or your name out on the radio because it might make, somebody might hear you. We have a caller who just called and says they're a person in leadership and they have a question about rookie employees not respecting their bosses or people who have worked there longer. This person has issues with new employees asking for too many accommodations or feeling entitled. You're smiling, Joyce.
Yes, because we hear that a lot. We have several generations in the workplace. And the realities for my children and your children is that they were raised in a different age. The Gen Z and the millennials, we tell them they can be anything they want to be. So when they come to work, they expect to get everything they need to be who they're supposed to be. And the baby boomers and the other the Gen Xers are asking, who do they think they are? I had to work hard to get this. Why do they expect to get all these things and they're entitled? And this happens so often. I think as a leader, it's very important to remind those generations that we have different life experiences. We have different expectations when we come into work. And here's how we can manage and modulate that so we can all be happy at work.
But how do you make all those people happy at work? The person who phoned in is a supervisor trying to keep their new employees happy because, retention is a huge issue for employers. And clearly everybody, we need these young employees. And then, older folks are perhaps feeling, wait a minute, I was here 10 years before I got a brand new chair or an office and how do you smooth that out?
I think it's very important to remember to let your new employees know that you want them. They're important, they're valued, but there is something called seniority, and there are things, there's longevity. We want there are goals you can set to attain certain things. After 3 months, you get benefits. Those things are still the same. I think it's how we conversation them that makes the difference. So let them know this is how the organization is set up to work. After 3 months, you will get a certain level of privileges. After 6 months, you will get certain things. After a year, you will get, and it seems very long for them. But during that process, there are little things that you can set smaller goals for them to attain. There are other ways you can appreciate them and show them value, because they're not going to sit there like the baby boomers quietly waiting for you to remember that they're there. They want attention. They want to know that their work is good. They want to know that they're valued, because this is a generation that was raised with instant feedback. That's their socialization. So we can't expect them to come to work and be something else. We as leaders have to adapt and recognize, okay, so this person needs more confirmation. They need to understand when they're doing well. They need to hear more from me. I need to check in with them on a daily basis. This is not the generation that you can forget about and check in once a month. No, you need to be checking in daily, and some may need more than that. This is just the terrain we're in right now. If you want them to stay engaged and focused at work, then you have to have I just did a piece on the human nuances of work, and we're losing that because we've become so digitalized. And an email is one way to check in, but you need to do that human check-in. It's very important.
And talk about communication errors. I mean, voice tone means so much.
Yes.
204-780-0893 is the number to call if you have a question or a concern to discuss with Joyce Odidison. Tell us the story. What have you experienced? And if you're concerned about calling, you can also email us. radnoonw@cbc.ca is our email address. radnoonw@cbc.ca, and we'll share your ideas or your questions with Joyce. If you live, if you don't have a long-distance plan that makes it free for you to call Winnipeg, 1-800-268-5483 is our toll-free number, 1-800-268-5483. You were talking about, the differences in generations. It feels like an assumption. That feels like, and I know we make it generationally, but not all baby boomers are the same. Not all Gen Xers or millennials. And is that a danger we face when we make those sort of generational statements? How big is the divide between generations, and how do you bridge it at work?
I think it's important to recognize that a generation historically, when you look at the data, a generation is that 20-year span between people's lives. And if you look at what has happened in the 20 plus years we've been on the planet, things are changing. Our society is changing now by the decade, no longer the 20 years.
By the year.
Exactly.
It's changing so fast. And that is tricky for folks, for some folks who've been, they're my age, they're in their 50s, to sometimes catch up with that speed. Is there a way that we can teach patience to younger coworkers, or is it up to the older generation to just catch up?
I think it's a bit of both. We are in our 50s have to recognize that things are not moving at the pace that we knew when we entered the workplace. It is never ever going to be like that again. With artificial intelligence, with everything that's happening, it will never go back to the pace where it was. I mean, when I started work, there was a receptionist at the front, and if anybody called or left a message, the receptionist would give you that information, and you would be able to respond when you have your lunch break. Now we have cell phones, and we have emails, and we have all kinds of apps, and people can reach us. So we're not isolated at work anymore. And we have to remember that's their world. They were born with that. Some of them don't even know what the phones look like. They don't know, they can't imagine what it would be like to not have a mobile phone and to not have instant communication and connection with the outside world. And so we have to be patient with that. And we now have to coach and mentor them within the organizational structure. So very different organizations have different structure. What are the policies? What are the procedures? Don't just throw it at them and say, read the policy. Coach them, mentor them. This is how we do things here for this particular reason. Or maybe you might need to update your policies and procedures around some things. Not everything needs to be the way it always used to be.
We received a call, Joyce, from a woman who's clearly frustrated with the treatment people from marginalized communities often still face in the workplace. She says even when you follow proper procedures, do everything, quote, the right way, unquote, problems persist. Your reaction to that?
Yes, I see it, and it's unfortunate because what happens when you're marginalized from a marginalized group is that you stand out. People know that you're there. You're visibly different. And the humans have this ability to other. And when we other others, we tend to see their actions as different, but not different good, but different bad. And so when we start to look at that difference, then there is the overreaction. And then there is blatant prejudice. There are people who are just blatantly prejudiced.
Still in 2024.
Oh, very much so. And then there are unconscious biases that we're still working to reduce. And yes, unfortunately, there are people who are very, very still prejudiced in 2024. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a caseload.
Really? You find a lot of that is your work, equity, diversion, and inclusion programs.
Oh, yes.
Well, this caller told me that she doesn't think they're working. In fact, she said during Black History Month, she noticed several webinars discussing how equity, diversion, and inclusion programs are not working. Do you agree? Do you think they're working?
They're not working the way we anticipate they would work.
You are a workplace expert. You're also a Black woman. What do we need to do?
Well, what the challenge is when we say diversity and we say equity and inclusion, what we normally see is organizations are at a race to be diversified, and they diversify at the front. Their frontline staff is all diversified, but they're not mentoring the diverse employees to go into leadership and executive where the decisions are being made about everyone. So there is no representation at the leadership and executive level to sustain a diverse culture. it's just human reality. We become groupthink set in when we all are alike around the table, when we're all talking and thinking the same and we all have the same worldview. There is no room for diversity. But when we have people who've lived different experiences, who have different life experience and different diverse perspective, they can bring new ideas and say, have you thought of this? Or have you thought of that? And then we will find ourselves at a place where we have true diversity, equity, and inclusion. Inclusion is being missed at the various levels up.
So we still have some work to do.
Absolutely.
Joyce O'Dittison, will you come back and talk with us more about this?
I will.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Great
Thank you, Janet, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Joyce O'Dittison is a conflict analyst and the CEO of Interpersonal Wellness Services Incorporated.
Thank you.
Looking up at that cloud-covered sky, I need to find truth after all these lies. Feeling kinda restless like a lost paper kite, looking in the distance for a rose-colored skyline. Letting the light, letting the light. Here comes another day, oh Lord. I try to take it all in stride. My mind is growing tired of losing the same fight. Show me how to shine my beauty on what's right, and let in the light, let in the light, let in the light. I've got to let in the light. Trying to find the path from my heart into my mind. Sometimes it feels like I'm trying to get it on a road with no straight lines. Face the sun, leave the shadows behind. We're given stars to guide us when it's night, dancing like a child and living wide-eyed, to fall in love with the moon till the sun begins to rise, and let in the light, let in the light, let in the light. I've got to let in the light. Come on and show me the light. Oh, where is the light? Let in the light.
That's Jess Ray with the latest song, A Call to Let Good Deeds Shine. Jess Ray with Let in the Light. We've let in Faith Fundal, and that's a good thing because they bring light, right?
You're very
right,
kind.
Faith?
You're very kind.
Faith hosts Up to Speed here today on CBC Radio 1 from 3 to 6 p.m.
Janet, we're going to talk about a business in Osborne Village closing permanently now. Safety concerns were part of the conversation around shutting down. Starbucks says its temporary closure is now permanent. We're going to get a reaction from the head of the local business improvement zone, reaction to the story because a lot of folks have been talking about this.
Absolutely.
So we'll have that conversation coming up after the 4 o'clock local news or national news.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you.
Join Faith today for Up to Speed. Thank you for joining me today for Radio Noon. I'm grateful for your time. Riley Lachuk was our news contributor today. Thank you so much, Riley. Brad Lillies is handling video and YouTube for us. Hi to everybody on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Daniel Friesen was our studio technician. Chloe Friesen, no relation, is our studio director and everything great. Nellie Gonzalez is one of our leads in unit, as is Leif Larson. Grateful to them for their guidance as well. You're listening to CBC Radio 1. Coming up next on CBC Radio 1, the next chapter. I hope you'll join us tomorrow for Radio Noon. Have a fabulous Monday.